Concur in Dakar
on 94.9 FM
and online at www.wadr.org. NEWSLINK is up next. WADR.
WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and Accra, 1 p.m. in Abuja. Many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcast on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. This is NEWSLINK. Let's begin with our top stories. African Union suspends Gabon from all activities as General Nguema set to take oath of office as the transitional president on September 4. Nigeria revokes French ambassador's immunity amid diplomatic tensions with military authorities.
I think the French government should avoid such action from happening by doing the needful. This is not the first time that countries are expelling ambassadors. It's not the first time that countries are asking ambassadors to go back to their country because of disagreement.
In Côte d'Ivoire, local elections counts down to Saturday as peaceful campaigning period ends. And President Bola Tinubu pledges to bolster public-private partnership for Nigerian economic growth. Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with NEWSLINK.
Many thanks for joining us and a big warm welcome to our listeners in Gambia, Liberia and Ghana. Let's begin this edition of NEWSLINK with a focus on the unfolding crisis in Gabon as the African Union suspends the country from all AU activities. This suspension, effective from August 31, stands until the restoration of constitutional rule in the country as mandated by AU protocols and regulations. The recent military takeover, however, put an end to the Bongo family dynasty's half-a-century grip on power in the oil-rich state. This transition introduces a fresh puzzle for a region grappling with a surge of correlated events which ECOWAS chairperson, President Bola Tinubu, describes as a contagion of autocracy. Imo Edet has more.
Following the pattern set by other military takeovers in the region, the military leaders in Gabon are working to solidify their control despite facing international condemnation. General Brice Oligui Nguema, the leader of the coup and former head of the Presidential Guard, is scheduled to be inaugurated as president on Monday. Taking action, the African Union's Peace and Security Council has already taken a step by suspending Gabon from all its activities, organs and institutions until constitutional order is reinstated. Senior officers in Gabon announced their coup in the early hours of Wednesday, shortly after the election body declared the victory of Bongo in the third-term election held on Saturday. The junta invalidated the election results, dissolved state institutions, and closed borders. The primary opposition platform in Gabon, Alternance 2023, expressed gratitude to the junta on Thursday for putting an end to the Bongo family's prolonged hold on power. Late on Wednesday, a video surfaced showing Bongo under house arrest, appealing to international allies for assistance but seemingly unaware of the events unfolding around him. In a statement on Thursday, the junta reported the resumption of domestic flights and the reinstatement of certain state institutions, including the Constitutional Court. Nevertheless, both land and air borders remain closed.
Imo Edet reporting there. Still in Gabon, coup leader General Brice Oligui Nguema is scheduled to take his oath of office on September 4 as transitional president before the Constitutional Court. A spokesperson for the Committee for the Transition and Restoration of Institutions, CTRI, Colonel Ulrich Mafombi, in a televised address on state media, pledged to respect the country's external and internal commitments. Ogebirika reports.
Colonel Ulrichman Funbiman Funbi, speaking on national television, declared that the transition's president will officially take the oath before the Constitutional Court on Monday, September 4, 2023, at the Presidency of the Republic. Breeze Oligwe Nkwema, the designated leader, aims to reassure international donors, development partners, and state creditors that comprehensive measures will be undertaken to ensure adherence to the country's commitment, both domestically and internationally, as highlighted by a spokesperson from the Transitional Council for National Recovery and Integration, CTRI. Manfunbi also announced the gradual establishment of transitional institutions. This statement comes in the aftermath of the Gabonese military seizing control, resulting in the annulment of the elections held on August 26, the dissolution of all state institutions, and the imposition of house arrest on President Ali Bongo. Bongo had been re-elected with 64.27% of the votes for a third consecutive 5-year term as per provisional results announced on the evening of August 29. The coup has triggered widespread condemnation at both the African and international levels.
Ogebirika with that report.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. NewsLink continues.
Back to regional stories. The United Nations representative for West Africa and the Sahel, Leonardo Santos Simao, said Gambian President Adama Barrow is concerned about the unconstitutional changes of government in the sub-region and beyond. According to the UN envoy, President Barrow also called for a life insurance package after the presidency for sitting presidents to deter them from overstaying. Our Banjul correspondent Sankule Janko has more.
Niger and Gabon have both recently undergone unconstitutional changes of power, highlighting the volatile situation in West and Central African region. This comes in the wake of a series of coups in nearby countries, including Guinea, Mali, and Burkina Faso. These developments have undoubtedly raised concerns among many African heads of state, particularly those within the sub-region. Following a closed-door meeting with President Barrow at the State House, the new UN representative for West Africa and the Sahel, Leonardo Santos Simao, addressed the press.
He shared with me his concerns about the unconstitutional changes of government and that we have to address this issue.
A prevailing perception suggests that numerous African leaders are apprehensive about life after their presidential tenure, leading some to cling to power and exceed term limits. Sima also disclosed that President Barrow called upon the United Nations to play a role in ensuring stability for presidents after they leave office.
On addressing the issue of giving assurance for sitting presidents also on their future once they leave power, so that they are not afraid of leaving power.
However, President Barrow also emphasized the need for fellow leaders to address the underlying causes of the frequent coups in the region. He pointed out that discontent among citizens with their leaders serves as a fundamental issue that should be tackled, as the military cannot be a sustainable solution. Consequently, Barrow urged the United Nations to take proactive measures in addressing the challenges that hinder presidents from respecting term limits and thereby preventing unconstitutional changes of power. For NewsLink on West African Democracy Radio, I'm Sankule Janko reporting from Banjul.
Elsewhere in Niger, the junta has revoked the diplomatic immunity of the French ambassador in Niamey, Sylvain Ity, following a 48-hour ultimatum issued on August 25th for him to evacuate the country. The French government had declined to comply, asserting its non-recognition of the military regime. But in a formal letter addressed to the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the junta states that it no longer holds the privileges and immunities associated with its diplomatic status with an embassy. While the diplomatic rift between Paris and Niamey widens, security and governance experts have advised the military junta to exercise caution in their actions while also urging France to respect the junta's decision. Gachamaki Peters joins us in this brief chat with Tawfiq Abdel Nasser.
This, I guess, is the fallout of the coup that took place in Niger about a month plus now. And I know that the French government have clearly not supported the junta, and they've been very vocal in the election of the changing government in Niger. And what I heard was that the Minister of Foreign Affairs had invited the ambassador for a couple of meetings that he failed to honor, and so he's part of the majors. And so I think it's proper to be in a country where you want to reject the government that is in place, either a military or civilian government. You do not have two government in a particular country or in a particular region or state. And so for diplomatic sake and for the peace and stability of Niger, the French government should not be seen to be heightening tension in that state, in that country.
Right. So what should we expect, or what can this situation lead to? Because now the military government has ordered the police to take the ambassador out of the country, and they're looking at the Geneva Convention as far as embassies are concerned in countries. What do you think might happen?
Well, I think the French government should avoid such action from happening by doing the needful. This is not the first time that countries are expelling ambassadors. It's not the first time that countries are asking ambassadors to go back to their country because of disagreement. You cannot insist in staying in a place where the people say they don't want you. I think, again, we need to respect the protocol. And so let's not allow the situation to degenerate by the forceful eviction of the French ambassador. And I must quickly warn that at the peak of the Libya crisis, we know that the U.S. ambassador was attacked, and I think we should avoid a repeat of such kind of thing in African soil. So I think the French government should recall the ambassador while they look at other options of settling some of these issues and getting the junta to respect whatever agreement they had before, whatever conversation they've had before now.
That was Gachamaki Peters, a regional governance expert. Meanwhile, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has denied reports that it had put forth a transition timetable for Niger. This information, which began circulating on Thursday, has been reported and echoed by numerous media outlets. In response, the ECOWAS Commission, in a statement, labeled the information as false. The Commission reiterated that its stance on the political turmoil in Niger remains and continues to work towards the prompt restoration of constitutional order, as well as the reinstatement of the deposed President Mohamed Bazoum. Now, Côte d'Ivoire's Independent Electoral Commission says all is set for the 2023 regional and municipal elections, scheduled to take place tomorrow, Saturday, September 2. The electoral campaign closed at midnight Thursday, following week-long activities by over 3,000 candidates across the country. Already, the consortium of civil society organizations for the elections in Côte d'Ivoire, made up of 6 entities, said it is deploying some 541 observers in some 122 departments. The spokesperson for the organization, Alexander Neth, indicated that the 102 departmental and municipal coordinators will be mobilized as mobile observers and will be responsible for collecting data linked to the socio-political and security environment in respective localities. But overall, Tawfiq Abdel Nasser reports that the campaigning period was relatively peaceful, with a few isolated incidents of violence.
Throughout the 7-day campaign period, candidates from various backgrounds, including independents, government representatives, and opposition figures, engaged in a series of activities such as meetings, televised debate, and outreach efforts. They utilized a range of strategies to connect with voters and, most importantly, to persuade them to choose them as their preferred candidates. In certain areas, candidates even provided free food products to the population as part of their campaign tactics. Artists also received compensation for their performances at campaign rallies and caravans. On the whole, the campaign was deemed successful whenever candidates converged or interacted with locals. No significant disruptions were reported. However, a few incidents of vandalism were recorded in some towns. A substantial total of 30,400 candidates are participating in the municipal elections, with an additional 5,200 candidates vying for positions in the regional elections. Attention is particularly focused on the Cavali region in the west, where Public Service Minister Anne Olotu and Hubert Olai, Executive Secretary of Laurent Gbagbo's PPACI party, are running for the regional council in alliance with the PDCI, the party of the late Henry Konan Bedi. In the municipal elections, the opposition will confront the president of the National Assembly, Adama Bictogo, in the Yopougon commune of Abidjan.
Tawfiq Abdel Nasser reporting there. And just before the break, here in Senegal, reactions have continued to trail the statement by the Minister of Justice, Ismaïla Madior Fall, confirming the ineligibility status of the opposition politician and leader of the now-dissolved PASTEF party, Ousmane Sonko. The announcement technically implies a distorted possibility for the incarcerated politician to contest in the February 2024 presidential elections. Recall Sonko was found guilty in a moral scandal and charged with corrupting the youth. However, today he is imprisoned for other charges including inciting insurrection and acts that undermine national security. Bamba Sise is one of Sonko's lawyers.
I think he was in his political posture that can be understood in legal terms when a person is considered to be in absentia as soon as they are arrested, as indicated in Article 307 of the Senegalese Code of Criminal Procedure. The conviction is overturned. From that moment on, the person recovers his or her rights, and this is the case in this situation. I don't think the minister was right to say that. I understand that he is not a criminal law technician. He was quite wrong.
You are listening to NewsLink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal on 94.9 FM. Here's a reminder of our top stories. African Union suspends Gabon from all activities as General Nguema set to take out of office as the transitional president on September 4. Niger revokes a French ambassador's immunity amid diplomatic tensions with military authorities. In Côte d'Ivoire, local elections count down to Saturday as peaceful campaigning period ends. Ahead in the news, President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria pledges to boost a public-private partnership for economic growth. We also have the guest interview and sports update. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Remember, we are streaming live on WADR.org and live on YouTube and Facebook on WADR. Now to financial matters, President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria has expressed commitment to fostering a strong partnership between the public and private sectors to stimulate economic growth in the country. President Tinubu, during a meeting with the Nigeria Economic Support Group (NESG), stressed the government's commitment to delivering the renewed hope agenda centered on accountability and transparency. WDR's Usman Umar in Abuja completes the story.
Tinubu pledged to prioritize the execution of the 8 key reform areas outlined in the agenda within the next 3 years. He highlighted Nigeria's abundant human and natural resources, as well as the untapped potential for prosperity and development. Moving forward with a no-excuses approach, Tinubu highlighted the significance of looking ahead to drive progress and prosperity.
We need think tanks on agriculture. I don't see why Nigeria will be so blessed with greenery and good soil and not have a commodity exchange. I don't see why we have not been able to interrogate our real estate sector, and I don't see how we have not used consumer credit to build purchasing power of our people and the capacity for the manufacturing sector. I don't see why.
The chairman of Nigeria Economic Summit Group, Mr. Olani Yusuf, warmly welcomed the proposed economic reforms from the Tinubu administration and expressed confidence in their effective implementation. During the meeting, Yusuf formally requested that Tinubu inaugurate the Nigeria Economic Summit Group Summit in October and engage with heads of ministries, departments and agencies to actively participate in the summit. He believed that such collaborative efforts would serve as incentives for both local and foreign investments in Nigeria. For NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar, reporting from Abuja.
In a potential shift, the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CETAG, is contemplating ending their ongoing strike. The association's members initiated the strike on August 1st as a response to disputes with the government regarding their terms of employment. As WADR's Atiwi Imbila Lawson in Accra reports, the strike action has had far-reaching effects, bringing academic activities to a standstill and disrupting the school calendar.
In response to the strike, the Controller and Accountant General's Department has taken the step of freezing the August salaries of members belonging to the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana. This move comes in direct response to a directive issued by the Ministry of Education asserting that the strike action undertaken by the Teacher Association was unwarranted. A meeting was convened today in an effort to establish a common understanding between the National Labour Commission and the leaders of the Teachers Association. In this regard, Ofosu Asamoah, the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission, conveyed that the Commission's intervention concerning the frozen salaries or improved terms of service can only be initiated when the association officially concludes the strike.
The Commission wrote to them as far back as 31st of July, before they could proceed on the strike. They still went there, they were invited before the Commission. They wrote to the Commission that there were no issues for discussion. And it has been so through the whole of the month of August until today, because their salaries have been blocked by their employers. And they have petitioned the very Commission to direct their employers to pay them. Anyway, the Commission has called on them once again to call off the strike and while they look into the matter.
Concurrently, Prince Obenghema, the president of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, shared that the decision to terminate the strike or continue it rests upon the consultation and decision of the members.
We have always adopted the bottom-up approach. So we are going back to council to engage them with what transpired today, and we are hopeful that in the coming days, maybe by the close of the weekend, we should finish our engagement and we should be able to reach out to the Commission.
Reporting for NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Atiewin Imbila Lawson in Accra.
Politics,
analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is The Guest.
Our guest interview this afternoon focuses on the Senegalese Minister of Justice's comment on opposition politician Ousmane Sonko's eligibility status ahead of the 2024 presidential election. Ismaila Amadio filed this week Wednesday said Sonko, who is currently in prison, cannot run for office next year. Not only has the opposition party PASTEF, which is now dissolved, reacted, but Sonko's supporters have equally expressed dismay at the development which they argued was orchestrated by the government from the start. A Senegalese political analyst and NEWSLINK contributor, Mamadou Cho, however, says it is too early to draw any conclusion on the matter.
Ismaila Madior is the boss of the justice system, and as such, I think he should refrain from giving his viewpoint on pending issues. And the condemnation of Ousmane Sonko on this case, opposing him to the Ajisar, the case is still pending. I mean, it can go up to the Supreme Court. If he said that it's a done deal, it's problematic. And I think it's not up to him, to say that. He should let the justice system give the final verdict. And when we get the final verdict, no matter what is the decision, if Ousmane Sonko is found guilty as in the first stage, I think it's now a done deal, and then, the consequences he will suffer from them.
My question to you, Mr. Mamadou Cho, as an expert who very well understands the political landscape of Senegal, do you see this as the end of the road for Ousmane Sonko, at least in the 2024 race?
No, nobody can say that right now, because let's strengthen that. It's up to the justice to decide at the end of the day if he will be able to run next year or not. It's not up to anybody, even if you are the Minister of Justice. So we have to wait. Even in the first case opposing him to Mambanya, it is now to the Supreme Court. And when you look at how the Supreme Court is very low in the way he handled these cases, it means this court respects the same pace. It can take more than a year before the case is done there.
Now, while we wait for the justice system of Senegal to overturn the statement made by the Minister of Justice, Ismaila Madior Fall, the now dissolved opposition party, PASTEF, this week said they are going to go on a hunt for a new replacement.
I mean, one of the leaders of this party said it last weekend on a well-known show on the private radio here. And that's why since then, the man who said that is a very experienced man. He know about Senegalese politics. It's Dr. Diallo Diop. So afterwards, I mean, the younger leaders of this party, they said, no, the party has not decided to replace Ousmane Sonko. He is our candidate, I mean, from A to Z. I mean, we'll have to wait because so far they consider that Ousmane Sonko can run again because as I said, all the three cases are not done yet. So, but it is risky for them because when we consider what happened to Khalifa Sall in 2019 and to Karim Wade the same year, I mean, they were not able to run in the last presidential election because of, these criminal cases they have. And after they were found guilty in the court.
That was Mamadou Cho, a Senegalese political analyst. It's now time for sports updates. Let's join Sankule Janko.
Hello there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Leicester City have signed Ghana winger Abdul Fattah on a season-long loan from Sporting Lisbon, according to media reports. Fattah, who joined Lisbon in 2022, will play for the Championship side for the new season. He was in Ghana's 2022 World Cup squad in Qatar but only made it to the bench once against Uruguay. Fattah came to limelight when he helped Ghana lift the Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations in 2021. He went home with the Player of the Tournament award after an impressive performance. Elsewhere, Flying Eagles defender Benjamin Frederick has reportedly joined Brentford B-side from Nigeria Kaduna-based club Simoben FC. He is expected to join the English Premier League side until the end of the 2023-24 season. Brentford confirmed his move on Thursday, adding the deal will be finalized, subject to international clearance. Frederick played for the Flying Eagles squad at the 2023 Under-20 World Cup in Argentina. And reigning European champions Manchester City have been handed what pundits described as an easy draw after the 2023-24 Champions League new season draw was conducted on Thursday. The Premier League club is paired in Group G alongside RB Leipzig, Red Star Belgrade and Young Boys. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
And that's a wrap on this edition of NewsLink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening. And many thanks to Christian Mukidi and Mustafa Sek for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio, English service, and stream live on WADR.org. I'm Abdullahi Hassan. Do enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to NewsLink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0, and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County. For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.